everyday leaders. Good afternoon. It is Thursday. It's July the 15th, it looks like. I never know what my dates are. I am really excited today because it is our Everyday Leaders Lunch and Learn speaker series. It is Thursday, and today we have a special guest, my friend Dennis LaRue. LaRue on the street, as some of you may know him. And he is a professional coach. He's with the John Maxwell team, he's military trained, and he's got an amazing new program about airstrikes that happen in your life, and how he has a program that's going to set up to help you. So, as a coach, Dennis is one of the people that have my heart in my inner circle. And I said, you've got to share this on the Lunch and Learn series because there's a lot of people in this group that you may need Dennis's services at that exact time in your life. So, Dennis, welcome to the Everyday Leaders Facebook group speaker series. I adore you and I thank you for sharing your heart today.
Oh, Melanie, it is so great to be with you again. And I love the everyday leaders that are all out there. I'm excited about this. You know, when we talked about this, Mel, vice versa, you're one of my inner circle that I go to. When I need to call in an airstrike, I'm calling in you. So that's going to give you guys a hint of what we're going to talk about today, about this airstrike coaching. I can't wait. We're gonna have a lot of fun, and I hope that there's a lot of awareness created because of it.
I hope so too. Here's the thing. When I say the leadership and everyday leaders, and you think like, well, what does that mean to be an everyday leader, right? And so many people call me and reach out or text. So, what is an everyday leader? and and everybody in this group defines it, right? It's how we build consistency, how we build courage, how we build clarity, how we show up every day and make decisions for us in our lives that's what it is. And so representing that, how do we sustain it, right? How do we sustain leadership values in what we actually believe in without letting other people influence our actions, right? Or our beliefs or our behaviors. So that's what this is all about, and giving everybody support on how they can become better leaders, improve their lives every day. So you are the epitome, my friend, of how you live your life with success, and you overcome struggles every single day. And I know that's what led you to part of developing this program and saying, who can I help? How can I help people with what I understand as a need? That's how programs are developed.
That's so true. I mean, it isn't it, it let's go to the 15 laws. It's the law of pain, right? It's interesting. The law of pain is those moments of pain drive us to growth if we learn the lesson from the pain. You know, if you if you get the same pain again, you probably didn't learn the lesson that you should have learned before.
Mm,
And so going through this pain, and you mentioned courage, that jumped out at me. When you said courage, it was like an echo in my head: courage, 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 because that's what's needed for everyday leaders. That is a core value of an everyday leader, is courage, because to battle pain, to grow, to go into uncharted territory, to stretch yourself, you've got to have the courage to say, I'm going to do it. I No matter what, I'm going to continue going forward.
oh, and it's not easy, right? That courage, it doesn't come easily at all for people. Um, let's talk about that for a minute, Dennis,
Yeah.
because courage is developed, right? You can say people are born with certain characteristics, and you can have a why, right? I talk about the why all the time and what really drives you to do the things that you do. Yet, we didn't make ourselves up. Like we didn't have control over this. God designed us.
Hmm.
And so we are given all of these occurrences, our environment, the people that we have in our current lives today, right? And they may help us to gain that belief system, right? We'll talk about that for a second. So, the belief system that we carry with us is what we have been surrounded by. And sometimes we don't have that capacity yet. We haven't been equipped. So, we don't have that capacity to just step into who we really can become. That's kind of that step of courage. And where do you think that you find that? Where do you think in coaching people and learning the lessons that you've learned through your life, where do you think that we find that courage?
I think we find the courage when we reach that point to step forward in faith, not knowing the results that are going to happen, but trusting that this step forward is is more valuable, is more important, and is more right than staying where we are or going back. And then trusting that that step is the right step to lead to that next step or that next territory, that next obstacle, or that success that we're looking for. And when we take that step and realize, hey, it's not quicksand. Hey, it's not a landmine. Hey, this isn't so bad. That courage starts to rise because of that act of faith. And you know what? That step was right. You start feeling hope rise. And like you said, it's also based on your why. Sometimes you take the step forward in faith because your why is stronger going forward than it is staying where you are.
Mm. Jamal Sylvester would say, "My why is greater than my why not."
That's
All right,
exactly
Jamal.
right.
But it is true. And so you have to learn that like a muscle, right? So that the courage that you develop doing one thing, giving yourself permission to learn one thing, then helps you to make that next decision so that you can grow and have more courage the next time.
Yes, and courage doesn't mean you're not afraid. Fear is there. Fear and courage are actually fighting each other in the moment. Fear and faith are fighting each other. And courage is not listening to the fear and letting it overwhelm you. It's following faith and taking that step forward and trusting faith more than fear. But the fear's there. And it reminds me of Rocky. Rocky in the ring, when he would talk, he'd say, it's heart and fire. He said every fighter's afraid. Every fighter's afraid, but it's using that fear for your good by he would say unloading on the guy, explode on the guy. He said every fight I was in, I was afraid. And courage was to step into the ring and go toe to toe. And so courage here is stepping into the ring and stepping forward and going toe to toe with what's out in front of you, trusting faith to lead you and instead of fear holding you back.
Okay, so when you say toes, it reminds me of how we met initially, through the John Maxwell team. However, you had a segment that you did every Sunday night called Steel Toes Required. And it was to help people build courage, to help people realize those instances when they needed a little bit of encouragement, when they needed a little bit of belief and a little bit more faith, and how they were going to show up on some of the hard decisions that they were going to have to make in life. Some of the things that were coming at them maybe so fast that they did not know how to handle. And so, your whole segment, how did you decide to do this? Because it was called Steel Toe Moments.
Yeah, hashtag still toes required. That I developed that playing around on Facebook. I'd always heard, I'm a person of faith, and I would always hear in church the pastor say, "What I'm about to say is going to step on some toes," which meant, guess what? This is not good. You're not going to be comfortable. You're not probably going to like what I'm about to say, but it's good for you, and I'm going to step on your toes. So I thought, well, you know what? Hashtag still toes required. In other words, this quote or this story or this moment or this meme on Facebook really stepped on my toes and made me uncomfortable, made me think, or emboldened me and encouraged me to take the step forward and put on my steel toes to kick down the barrier in front of me. And it just led me, and so many quotes did that. And I thought, why don't I just create a segment that's called hashtag Steel Toes Require? Share the quotes that have beaten me up over the years, but also encouraged and inspired me, and share it with a few folks and share some lessons I learned from it. And
Mm.
that's how Steel Toes Required came to be.
And it was really powerful because the thing is, you developed consistency in what you believed, right? And so when you started that, uh, what did you think about the design of it? I mean, you really started it out of your heart and you started it on Sunday nights. And so where did it go?
It just started as fun. I was, as I heard from one of my mentors, build your wings, jump and build your wings on the way down. And I thought, that's a good idea. I've had enough people say, that when I started hearing people say, hey, hashtag steel toes required, I'm like, okay, this is sticking with people. I'm just going to keep doing this and share what I've learned, and share quotes. And I stopped it because I realized now we got to be, one of our core values in the military is integrity. And it should be everybody's core value, to be honest with you, and authenticity. Here's something I realized. You know what, Dennis? You're doing a great job here with these quotes and lessons learned, but you know what? There's some of these lessons you need to be practicing yourself. And so one of the reasons I pulled it back was, hey, don't be teaching other people great stuff that you're not doing.
Mm,
And so I needed to call in an airstrike on myself. And I needed to pull back, say, okay, it's time to go back to basic training. It's time to go back to boot camp. It is time to go back through training, relearn some things, not just relearn, but reapply, reevaluate, readjust. And so I paused the steel toes for that reason. And also I noticed this. I'm just going to be transparent with you for a moment. It it was gaining momentum and some success. And guess what? It scared me.
mm,
It scared me because it was moving forward at a speed that I was like, oh my goodness, it's a speed I've always wanted to travel. And then I realized, it's like watching those videos of people getting on treadmills, trying to run at top speed. But what I saw coming was, wow, I like this speed, but I can't maintain it for 26 miles. I'm gonna get shot off the treadmill.
mhm,
And I realized, and that fear of that moment, I said, okay, I got to pull back. One, if I'm going to keep going forward at this speed, and I'm not able to keep up with what I'm doing back here, it's going to be a train wreck, and it's going to be a bad train wreck.
mhm,
So, okay, let's put on my steel toes and pull back, tighten up the laces, and rebuild, reload, shore up some foundational areas, because the house built on a rough foundation, a good foundation's great, but if the foundation's got cracks in it, eventually it's going to fall.
mhm,
So I had to repair some foundational and structural, which led, through this process, led to this, because I was using these very, I was using coaches and others for these very, very areas that I need.
mhm.
So, we bring steel toes up a lot, and I'm getting the message. My steel toes are on right now, and I'm getting the message because a lot of people ask me about that, and LaRue on the street as well, just being out there and being a voice. But one of the reasons why I pulled back was, hey, I've got to be in harmony and in alignment with myself and my values and what I'm saying. I can teach on a whole lot of things, but if I'm not doing those things, my, does not compute. It's off. It might help people, but it's destroying me on the inside. And I gotta, I've got to fix me before I can pour so much out into others in that kind of way,
Mm.
especially foundationally.
10 commandments, right? Love others as you love yourself, and you got to love yourself first.
Yeah, and it's hypocritical. I mean, let's just be honest. If I'm not doing what I say I'm doing and telling people to do it, that instead of the super S on my shirt here for superhero Superman, it's an H for hypocrite. It's like the scarlet letter, you know?
Well, so how many weeks did you do the steel toes required? How many weeks did you do that? I know you were really consistent.
We
You
did
reached a goal.
we reached 2 years. We went over 100 episodes. I think we were right around 105, 108,
Mm.
somewhere around in that range.
So, the lesson, I guess, that I want to share with people is sometimes it takes you a long time being consistent to get the clarity. It's a lot of people will start something and say, okay, well, if I do this for 3 weeks, I'll get a routine down, or 7 weeks, and I won't let something go. Yet, when we talk about consistency, Greg Storch would be a great one to
Oh
add some
yeah.
value on this. And, uh, you know, David McGlennon and so many of the people in our tribe. Yet, consistency is hard, right? You have to commit to doing those things every single day to prepare so that you can add value in some way. And so it's not just about like being accountable to yourself, but it is showing up and adding value to others in this bigger capacity. And that consistency is it's planning, it's courage to be able to say, can I add the level of value, like you said? Am I doing this the way that's really going to serve what I feel like I'm being called to do, right? In a bigger way. So I think
Yeah.
that's a great, just like aha moment, right?
Absolutely. I mean, uh, when I look at thinking about, I love running. I love running. I do a little bit more walking than I do running now over the years. But when I can run a little bit, I just love it. And to be consistent, I've been running in some way, shape, or form since I was like, as long as I can remember. Soccer fields, running in the halls to class. I mean, I just love the feel of, I just love running. And I'm consistently doing it. Even over the years when I take breaks, I still do it. I love it and I keep doing it and consistent. To do something for 2 or 3 weeks starts the process of consistency. But consistency, if you take a day off on consistency, you become inconsistent real fast. I mean, the wheels come off fast.
Yes.
Um, so it reminds me of a quote that I shared. Remember your ABCs. Action brings clarity.
Mm-hmm.
Action brings clarity. So consistent action brings clarity and consistency, but you
Mm.
got to be consistent with it.
You have to be consistent with it. And because you start to get the clarity, gives you that next step, right? And that gives you the courage to take that next step and to figure out the process. And so many times, like, um, it's really hard for people, right? Especially now, because I talk to a lot of people, Dennis, that are in transition, that they've either decided they're not going to go back to doing what they were doing before COVID,
Mm-hmm.
or they're going back doing the same things. They thought, oh, this will be different because now we have technology that will give us the ability to connect virtually. But a lot of organizations aren't using the technology once they go back to reality. It's like, okay, that was for then, but it's not for now. And so, right, it starts with the leaders and realizing like what's the value that people need to connect to each other. You know, John writes that book, Everyone Communicates, Few Connect. And you think about the ways that we do things in a normal world and then the ways that we had to do things virtually. And it took a little bit more effort, right? It took a little bit more consistency in how we were showing up for ourselves and others.
Mm-hmm.
And so now creating this new environment, I hear a lot of people having a lot of like considerations, a lot of stress that they didn't feel before, a lot of decisions that they want to make, maybe to change careers, maybe to move, right? Maybe take a job that it's going to move their family across the country. And it's all very scary because they're decisions they have to make right now, right now. And they're big, life changing decisions. So I say that because I know that you and I talk about this a lot. And, if you're consistent in your beliefs and the things that you surround yourself with, when you get to that point of feeling overwhelmed,
Mm-hmm.
usually there's one or two things, not 20, but one or two things that you can do to really get you back on track. And I know that's why you developed your new program.
Yes. And so with being overwhelmed, that's a great word, being overwhelmed. I am overwhelmed. I am paralyzed. And maybe it's an emergency situation. And when you're in that situation, it's easy to just curl up. I think of the military and Band of Brothers. I love Band of Brothers. And there's this one scene. There's this one kid, is soldier in the second episode, who is just absolutely petrified. He is holding his gun and screaming in terror and fear as the war is going on, and he's in his hole. He's not doing anything, but he's screaming. He's petrified. He is overwhelmed in the situation. And maybe that's how a lot of people are feeling during COVID. And you feel like we're about to be overrun by the enemy,
Hmm.
whether it's internally, your own mindset, or those in the circles around you telling you you can't do this, you should do that. You're paralyzed by an analysis, by paralysis, with everything going on, the shock and awe that's been happening as well, just the terror from COVID and the fear of going out wearing masks, and life happening all around you. And it's like a Fourth of July fireworks display in your mind. Just, you can't see it all. It's everywhere. What do you do? This is where you call in the airstrike. This is when you get in and say, hey, I need an airstrike. And the airstrike in this case is just to create space, a safe space for you to get some clarity, to share what's going on, and to work through the shock and awe and all the voices that are out there and everything that's happening, just to have a bit of silence, a bit of sharing what's going on, to get that one moment of clarity to see, you know what, I'm going to be okay. Or this is the direction I need to take. Or, you know what, yes, this is an emergency situation, but I can move forward. Because in that Band of Brothers scene, at the end of that, in fact, his commanding officer comes over to him and calls him out by name and says, come on, pour it on him, pick up that rifle, let's go, encourage him. And he slowly picks up that rifle and pulls it up, and he's shaking, but he fires it. And he didn't hit anything, he just shook and fired. And then after that one shot, it got easier for him to shoot more and more and more. And then by the end of the episode, he actually takes out an enemy. And the next episode, we see him taking the lead in enemy territory to be a lead scout. So he goes from being in the ditch, petrified, to being a lead scout. And that's exactly what an airstrike coaching session is. It's a quick strike, 45-minute, one time encouragement, whatever it is you need in that situation, because the airstrike is you calling in the coordinates. I don't know what they are. I don't know what I'm hitting. I don't know what I'm firing at. All I know is you've got to give me the situation. You give me the coordinates, and then I come alongside of you and tell you to pour it on. Just just shoot one bullet, take one step,
Mm.
and you'll know what that step is. Just like that soldier did. He knew the step he had to take, and he was afraid to take it. He eventually took it, and he propelled forward.
Wow. That's powerful. That's that's clarity, right? But it's so powerful because there are so many people that could use this exact type of service. I mean, there's a lot of coaches, there's a lot of people that are in, larger companies
Mm-hmm.
that may have an HR team and feel like they either could go there for support or they may not feel safe, right? They may not feel safe in that environment. So I think what you're doing is giving people an opportunity to reach out and say, before you lose it, before you just kind of say, all in, I can't do this anymore,
Mm-hmm.
think clearly. Get one more person on your team to say, okay, let's really seriously take this apart. And in that 45 minutes, to be able to evaluate that clarity. for them.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the other part of that is not only that, sometimes you're advancing. Like the situation I was in, I'm advancing. I'm getting somewhere. Holy moly, this is amazing. I'm loving this. I've got momentum. I've got speed. I'm feeling great. And then all of a sudden, there's an obstacle in front of you that you didn't realize was coming.
Hmm.
And before you hit it smack, you see it coming. You're like, whoa, I've got momentum. I need to call in an airstrike because I see the obstacle ahead and I need to figure out how to go around it. Or do I need to go over it? Do I need to go through it? Or do I just need to call in an airstrike and take it out so I can continue the momentum going forward?
It's so important. So tell me from your own experience, Dennis, when you were going through really suffering, right, through an event, what would have felt like if you would have had this kind of impact or this kind of access?
Mm, how would that feel? Wow. Yeah, it would feel, um, I would feel hopeful
Mm.
that I would feel hopeful because I've got a trusted person, a person that cares about me, a person whose sole focus is to help me and help me advance, help me work through, seize the blind spots that I can't see. That's why they call blind spots. You can't see them. It reminds me of what Jesus said about looking at the plank in a person's eye, forgetting about the log in your own. The log is your blind spot. You can't see it. You're not aware of it. Everybody else is, but you're not. And the coach helps you in those moments. And so it brings hope. It brings a sense of excitement, but you know what else it brings? And it's what we needed desperately all throughout COVID and even this new strain that's been coming out: peace, peace of mind. If we don't have peace of mind, it won't take long for us to get out of our mind, right?
Right.
It doesn't take much and it doesn't take long. And so this brings peace of mind. This airstrike coaching brings peace of mind. Oh my, that I'm in a position I haven't been in before. What do I do? Advance. Keep advancing. Keep advancing. But tell me what you see. What is it you're seeing? What is it you're feeling? What is it you're hearing? What are you feeling here, man? I'm feeling scared. I see this big, giant obstacle in front of me. And after working through it, you realize, no, it wasn't. It wasn't that big at all. Once you cross over, you're like, that wasn't that big. But coming to it, it looks like a giant.
Mhm.
It looks like you're going into hand-to-hand combat, and all you have is your hands, but they're fully armored. They're fully weaponized. And all you have is, I don't know how I'm going to do this.
I think about this in so many situations, right? People that are in employment situations that they want to change,
Mm-hmm.
family situations that may be difficult, that they may need to remove people from their family, just access, right? Removing those toxic people from our lives. And I hear a lot of that today because we've had to depend on more of our families, whether it's good or bad, right? They may
Mm-hmm.
be toxic for us. Again, pushing those beliefs on us to say, "Hey, this is not what you should be doing," and causing a lot of conflict and confusion for people. And so I think COVID has, given people access to our lives that never were really there every day.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's a whole nother area that I see a lot of with clients, Dennis, is they just need confidence that they can make the decisions for themselves to really benefit the next step of growth in their life. And because it gets noisy sometimes, right? We listen to a lot of people and everybody has an opinion. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has an opinion. And so if you just kind of need this one session to say, look, I really am going in the right direction. I am making the right decisions based on the knowledge that I know so that I can be clear. And I think that's what's so cool about this. I do strategy sessions and why coaching and we've coached the 15 laws of growth together for years,
Oh yeah.
and so many others, but it's because personal growth gives you that clarity so that you can really understand how to make an impact in the world. And if you're struggling with just one decision or one instance that's happened to you to take you off track, man, that can, like you said, Dennis, that can paralyze people.
It sure can. And the other paralyzing part of that is some of you out there have coaches and you have long-term coaching relationships, and some of you are coaches yourselves and have those long-term coaching contracts, and that's scary for some people who just need that one moment.
Hmm.
And so I'm for being coming alongside those coaches. Your coaches, many of you coaches have built in what is an airstrike session for your current clients, but in order for them to be a current client, they got to sign the long-term contract, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm for that as well. But I'm also for, I heard Seth Godin just in his blog this week said everybody needs a coach. The marketing guy says everybody needs a coach. And one of the fears that everybody has about coaching is the long-term commitment, when maybe all they need is that one airstrike session. So I'm for helping those people that need that one session to either jumpstart. If they want to go long term, they can. But if all they need is that momentum for that moment, then let's give it to
Hmm.
them. Let's give it to them, because it's not about me when it comes to coaching. Coaching isn't about me and about my skills or my abilities. Coaching is about coming alongside so you can move forward. I want to be the sand on the ice when you're stuck, or the plank under your tire when you're in the mud. I just want to create the friction so you can propel forward and get that momentum we talked about, or maintain the momentum you're in. Or if you're overwhelmed because you're surrounded by the enemy, so to speak, the enemy of thoughts, the enemy of social media. Maybe it's an enemy created by a bad habit that has resurfaced, and you're surrounded. Then I come alongside of you. I'll come in and with the machete and whack the weeds to get in there, and then and help come alongside of you to help you out so you can get back on the path again.
Such a needed, valuable resource, right, for so many people. The one thing that could change how you see everything else and give you that assurance that it's going to be okay. Sometimes that's all we need. And sometimes it's not in our inner circle, it's not in our work, it's not in our families, it's not
Mm-hmm.
in our community. And so finding the one thing that can help you get clear.
Absolutely. And all of those areas that you mentioned are not bad. Don't dump all of those. Don't dump the family or bosses or those. You need those. You need those. They love you, they care about you, but they don't know what's going on inside of you, in your dream, your vision, where you're going. And you need somebody that could come alongside of you to push you forward without the bias,
Mhm.
because it's part of growth. When you are growing you, it scares the people around you who aren't wanting to grow with you,
Yep.
because they feel left behind.
Mhm.
It strikes something within them. I'm not going to call it inferiority complex, but it strikes something with them that makes them uncomfortable. And so, in order for them to gain that comfort, they want to put that uncomfort back on you. They want to pull you back to the pack, but that's not in you.
We could go through the law of the mirror now.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my goodness. So many things. So so Dennis, tell us about the other things that are going on in your life. Like when on a daily basis, right? So you've been in the military, um, you have ministered at churches, you are coaching on sessions on the John Maxwell team.
Mhm.
daily, like you are just so involved in your own growth. And so how are things today for you? Now you're not doing the steel toes required, but with this airstrike coaching, um, just talk to us about how that fits into your daily routine, your daily life, and all the things that you're learning here over the last year.
Well, one of the best pieces of advice that was ever given to me was during my military career when I was stationed in England. And I remember I would meet with my pastor there every Saturday. I'd meet at his house, and I remember asking him one time. We were just talking about things, and I said, "Pastor, what's the best piece of advice that's ever been given to you?" And without hesitation, he said, "Dennis, the best piece of advice given to me was from a pastor that mentored me, and he said, 'Be ready to preach, pray, or die at a moment's notice.'" And I have kept that ever since, because how does this airstrike coaching fit in? It's being prepared at a moment's notice for the overwhelming moments, being prepared in a moment's notice uh, for advancing forward, being prepared in a moment's notice to help someone. To somebody sends you that text says, "Man, I need emergency, I need your help." And so it's the opportunity to be available in that moment for that, and putting it now out in front for people to say, "You know what, I've got an emergency, or I'm stuck." If you're saying these things, "I'm stuck, this is an emergency, I feel paralyzed," or "Help, I'm gaining momentum, I'm I can't believe the success, and I'm pedaling so fast, I'm going faster than I've ever gone. I Am I going in the right direction? I need help." That mindset of being ready at a moment's notice to serve is 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 what drives me. And oftentimes, is my personality, I say yes to a lot of things. And when you say yes to a lot of things, you fill up a lot of things fast. And so even myself, working with my coaches, working with my airstrike partners, I've got to pull back and say, okay, what are some things I got to say no to? Because the reason I'm overwhelmed, the reason I'm in an emergency, is because I said yes to everything. And no is not a bad word.
Say that again.
No is not a bad word. And no does not reflect negatively on you all the time. And no is not a character reference. No is a life preserver in the sea of yes.
Let that settle in for a second. Right? Saying no is okay. Saying no
Yeah,
gives you the freedom. Saying no gives you sometimes just that moment of clarity and and absolutely helps you to not be so paralyzed. Because if you could take that one thing out of your daily routine, right, that you feel so stressed about, what if you just said no to that one thing today? Just no, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to reschedule it. I'm going to cancel it. Whatever that is, like that power helps you to get clarity of, we all are human beings, so we want to have control all the time. Yet sometimes it's those things that are getting in our way that we don't allow ourselves to see. And and sometimes we don't know what it is that we need to remove. So trying different things, right?
right.
Trying an airstrike moment, trying to say, hey, maybe I need someone else today to help give me that courage to get that clarity, to kind of write it all out, to map it all out so that I can get clear and be stronger.
Exactly. And for me, saying no feels like that soldier in the ditch. But once you say it once, and you've got clarity. Now it requires clarity in the direction you're going. If you know where you're going, if you know your why, no is easier to say.
Hmm.
And it also takes courage. We talked about that earlier. To say no, it takes courage.
It takes a lot of courage. Why are we afraid of no? So let's get down into that, right? Why are we afraid to say no?
Hmm. For some of us, for me, like my personality makeup, when I say no, I feel like I've offended or hurt the person I'm saying no to or the situation,
Hmm.
and I don't want to do that. I also no comes across as conflict, and my personality makeup is I'm not one. I don't invite conflict. Yeah, I was in the military, but you know what? If I didn't have to fire the gun, that's okay. That works better. I'm more of a peace person. I, so I don't like conflict, and also saying no because of my makeup sound it closes off potential opportunities and possibilities. Am I saying no to the right things so I can achieve the possibilities and opportunities that are ahead of me? So when I say no, I see everything as opportunity and possibility at times. And so saying no feels like I'm closing the door when the door's open.
Hmm.
But the problem is like the fireworks, all the doors are open.
Right. Well, but sometimes, right, you feel suffocated until you say no. And then it's like, thank goodness I couldn't take any more, right? I wasn't prepared for that. I really didn't want to do that. And yet you feel this pressure.
Mm,
So I know we've got some people on here. I've got to just check this out here on the Facebook
yeah.
page, Dennis. Jill Jacobs Reynolds, she's joining us today on here, and Sylvia Verga and Chuck Parker. So, hello, you guys.
Hey,
Thanks
Sylvia
for
and Chuck.
joining. So, Jill says we all need boundaries and permission to say no. Each of you should give what you have decided in your heart to give, not reluctantly or under compulsion, for God loves a cheerful giver. Ah, I love that from Corinthians,
Yes.
2 Corinthians 9:7. So, yes, absolutely. That is awesome. And Greg Storch, hello. We're so glad to see you here. We were
The
talking about
lion is in the den.
the lion is in the den. We were talking about consistency earlier, and you, my friend, are one to model after. You have
Hmm.
had so much consistency to help all of us in our life gain that clarity and confidence and courage. Um, and Greg, look, I have the lion right here. He's looking at you. That's my lion.
I
That's my
have
courage.
I've got two. They're over there, one on each side.
Oh my goodness. But yeah, I mean, this is what it's all about, right? It's building the community of people to give you the courage that you need sometimes to get through those situations. Uh, and so, what were we talking about? Airstrikes.
Airstrikes and saying no, and also I was thinking of those being stuck. This is a big one. People will say it all the time. I'm stuck. Well, how does an airstrike help me when I'm stuck? Well, here's my assumption when you say you're stuck. You know where you want to go. You're moving forward. You're active. You're doing activity. You're doing probably the right things, but you're doing the right things, but you're digging a trench, or you're like I heard a client once say, I'm just putting one foot in front of the other, and that's good. But putting one foot in front of the other, you're going in circles because you're looking down at your feet, because you've lost sight of the vision, or you've lost sight of the objective, the mission. And so you're not sure where to turn, or you get to the fork in the road, and you're like Gandalf. You remember in the if you've seen the Lord of the Rings, the second one in the Two Towers, and they're marked. I think it was the second one. No, it's the first one. They're in the cave. They're underneath the ground. They're with the dwarves, and they finally get inside, and they reach a point, and Gandalf looks and says, "I have no recollection of this place."
Mm,
And they sit for hours while he's trying to figure out the direction to go.
mm.
He eventually gets the aha moment and he says, "Oh, it's this way." But they were stuck in that moment. Calling in an airstrike at that moment to help you choose the direction to go will save you literally hours, could save you days, save you weeks, save you years. It's that compound effect long term.
Save your life.
Yeah, save your life. It'll save you from digging a deeper ditch. Let's get out of the ditch and get going, get moving forward. There's territory to take.
Ah, my goodness. All right. So, the quote that I met you on, because you said, okay, we're doing steel toes required. Give me a quote, Mel. Give me a quote. What was my quote, Dennis?
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Boom.
Wayne Gretzky, number 99, the
Wayne
great
Gretzky,
one.
the great one, right? So even we learn this from our mentors from early in life, and and we always think about those motivational quotes, those people that inspire us, those people that want us to lead bigger and see something in us to say you have a bigger capacity to do something great. And sometimes we just don't even see it ourselves. And so, those opportunities, when you feel that nudge, some people call them God nudges, some
Mm-hmm.
people call them just intuition, right? But if you are struggling with something like this and you say, if I could just have that moment of clarity, that opportunity to have someone sit down with me and take it apart and say, does this make any sense? Although I'm not surrounded by anybody else that would help me make sense out of it, does this make sense in my own mind? And can I do something now to make a bigger impact? And what would that look like? And that's what this airstrike moment is. It's like this time in your life where you say, if I did take the shot, if I had the opportunity, what would I need to do next? So that's why I love this. I think that it is powerful. I think it's critical to people's success. I think we get stuck so many ways to say we don't have opportunities. We don't know the right person to go to trust. And you have so many values, Dennis, to bring to the world to establish a program like this so that people can say, hey, that's what made a lot of sense for me. That was the moment, that was the shot that I took that made all the difference.
Uh, I couldn't say that any better. And it's that what you said right there, that moment that, and it may, and you may, I'm as a coach, you may not hear it in the moment. Like the you'll have the session, and that person will go forward. It may be years before you hear back from, but you know what? They always come back, and they always let you know, hey, and we need to do this, by the way. Whoever has helped you in the past that has brought an aha moment to you, go let them know. Send them an airstrike of encouragement, letting them know that they made a difference, that what they did in that moment made a difference in your life now.
Mm-hmm.
That's powerful. And, you know, uh, for us as coaches, we love those aha moments. I mean, that that's the that it's addictive. It's like comfort food, chocolate. Pick your poison. It's just you don't get tired of it, and you want to be that tool to come alongside somebody and help them along in their journey. That fuels me. That absolutely fuels me. It reminds me of one of my favorite scenes ever in a movie, and it's from Mr. Holland's Opus. And it's the scene where the principal, Mrs. Jacobs, is retiring, It's a graduation ceremony, and she pulls alongside Mr. Holland and says, "Mr. Holland, a word, please." And they're walking together, and she shares that she's retiring, and she has a gift for Mr. Holland, and he opens it up, and it's a compass because of the first time they met. She told him that as a teacher, he didn't want to be a teacher. That was a stepping stone to become this great musician. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen the movie. Sorry. And she told him that as a teacher, his job was to be a compass for students. And he opened that up and saw it, and he gets choked up because he remembers the moment. And she said this to him: "Of all the teachers that have ever been here at Kennedy High, Mr. Holland, you are my favorite." And it was that moment for him going back, and that gift that continued to propel him forward as a teacher. But who doesn't want to hear in what they do in life, "You are my favorite"?
Mm,
What you did made a difference. What you did impacted me and changed my life forever. You are my favorite. Who doesn't want to hear that? And those are those aha moments. Those are the moments that drive me
mm,
to help people, because that aha moment for them has a compound effect, and a multiplying effect that ripples not just days, not weeks, months, but years and generations.
mm, mm. So powerful. You know, the gratitude, just the awareness, so many things that it can change. And it really can kind of stop a generation from not having beliefs about themselves or the opportunities, right? And that really can change the legacy that you leave
Mm.
for your family, for your generation. So, um, man, just thinking into that, how powerful that has been for so many people. And so I'd like, if anybody has an experience like that, right? You had that moment and you started to change the trajectory. Uh, and I can think of people that are right now on the Facebook line, and Chuck Parker, Sylvia, Jill,
Mm.
Greg, and others that are on here now or on the replay that have experienced this. And you say, when I made that one decision, it's because I got clear because of this. The experience that I had, the people that believed in me, the people that may have told me something that I wasn't aware of, how I helped them, how I changed their thoughts. And that is just, it's so critical. And we forget because we just do life, right? We just do our lives and we forget how important that is, that value of connection.
We all want to be significant. We really do. We want to have significant impact. And how do we do that? By saying, "I want to be significant. I am significant." And then taking the steps forward to be significant.
Boom. As Chip
Yeah.
Baker would say,
Boom.
boom. Go get
go
it.
go get it. That's right. Chip, that's for you. Hashtag go get it, buddy.
Oh my gosh. Yes, Greg just said the day he resigned from corporate America. Yeah, that's so true, right? This is an exact example of those things that make you think differently, and you know, a lot of fear. He has a lot of courage that goes along with that because you don't know where it's going to lead. You know, when you look back, you say, "Gosh, that was the defining moment that made me understand why I was designed here on earth." You really get it. And so, not that there's anything at all wrong with
Mhm.
being an employee. Being an employee is a committed, loyal, protected process. And exactly, Greg, Lion Enterprise was born from that because you started to have your own courage and gave that all the courage to others. And and so I love this because, you know, this group, I really want people to engage with this group, to support each other, to surround each other with if there are things that resources that we can help with, this is the key, right? If we're employers with employees, there may be opportunities for people, to surround ourselves to say, look, this is the moment that you need to reach out to this resource. And so I want all of you in this group to feel like you can share ideas, share your programs, share your opportunities, and let's really pour into each other. Because I feel like there's a gap right now for employers, entrepreneurs, nonprofits, that we're all struggling. Like, what
Mhm.
does the next normal look like? And so why have to try so hard when we've got resources right here, right? We're all here to really support each other. So, um, Dennis, I just want to thank you today for sharing your heart. I know there are so many things that we have done and collaborated with together, and I really appreciate you. You stand for everything that you speak about and that you believe in, and you're just such a great leader in the world. And so we appreciate you. How can people find you if they want to schedule a time with you for an airstrike session?
That's great. You know what I would like to do is I've set up a Calendly link so you can just get on my calendar, plug in pick your date, pick your time, and you're there. You're there. You can reach out to me. I'm on LinkedIn. We're obviously here on Facebook. So if you're in the group and we're not connected or friends, connect with me. Friend request me. I've got some room for friends on Facebook, so you can connect with me that way. But to schedule an airstrike session, you need to go through the Calendly. The Calendly link is to where to schedule your airstrike session, and it's real simple. You don't have to give me all the background story. Just tell me, give me the coordinates. What's going on today? Where do you need what's going on? And then when we get into the airstrike session, we'll dive in.
Awesome. All right, you heard it here. And Dennis, thank you for stepping up and being one of the very first, right, to register for the Everyday Leader Speaker Series. This has been a great session since May 6th when we kicked this off. We've had so many amazing leaders. If you haven't seen these, go back and watch, and they will be on YouTube in the library as the Lunch and Learn Speaker Series with Everyday Leaders. So you can find them there. You will also find this on a LinkedIn and YouTube link pretty soon. So thank you, Dennis, again for joining us. And remember, if you need to learn the strategies, the strengths to be everyday leaders in your life, there are so many of us that are just surrounding each other and supporting you to become everyday leaders. If you need daily encouragement, you can join the daily devotionals. We meet at 7:30 a.m. every single morning, every day, 7:30 a.m. Eastern. Today was 653 days. So I invite you to join us. If that's something that you need a little bit of accountability to, we would love to have you join us. And so find out about the Y program and anything else that I can help you with. And again, Dennis LaRue, Airstrike programs, you can find him. I've tagged him in this as well. And thank you for joining us today. And just be strong and be leaders in your life. Have a great day, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Thanks, Mel.
Thank you.